Well, welcome back to the Road to Retirement. My name's Chris Anselmo with Brookside Tax and Financial Group, and we have our co-host, healthy co-host now, Tony Shore.
Hey, great to be here, Chris. Great to see you, and I'm excited about the show today. It's fun. I'm sorry I missed. I was out with COVID a couple of weeks ago,
I know
so
that's what I heard. And then
yeah.
last week, some transformer on the street blew, and we didn't have we only had like part of our power, so
That's weird.
yeah. So there, I guess there's a fuse in there that went out. We had a bad storm that night before,
Oh, sure.
and so we came in like all the lights were like blinking and they weren't really like all the way on, and I thought it was, thank God, I thought it was internal. I'm flipping all the breakers and stuff, but
Oh, yeah.
eventually we called the power company. They just came out and they had to replace something. So today I thought we'd talk about, it's not really a topic, but it's kind of like getting organized. We and I think we'll go back to this more. We used to do a lot of these binders. We'd call them our very important papers, VIP
Oh,
binder,
yeah. Yeah.
very important papers. And I don't know if you could see that, but it would, we dress it up a little bit, but it look like this, and it'd have a table of contents and,
Sure.
some tabs and stuff. So I thought we'd go over a little bit of that and maybe what you would put in there. Um,
Well,
so
that's a
again,
good topic. That's
so
a topic. Very
yeah,
important papers, right?
so yeah, it was called our VIP binder.
I like
So
it.
I'm going to try and share a screen here. Okay, there we go. So so oftentimes when someone, especially when someone passes away, um, the next of kin, they don't know where everything's at, right? Especially if you ever seen that show Hoarding.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so
Hoarders.
we've had people that have had houses like that, but I'm not sure the hoarder would actually do one of these binders because they hoard. But for a lot of people,
Yeah.
it was just a place where everything could be. Now, as I showed you, we usually do this three ring binder where you put their names on it. We call it very important papers, and we have the tabs, in
Yep.
there. Now, as we go through this, it's a table of contents for you listeners. In the first one, because this is who we are. We do tax returns, right? So the first one's in there. You'll have your maybe last 2 or 3 years of tax returns in there, or let us know where they're at. So maybe in the tax return tab, it says, look in the file cabinet in my bedroom, right? So as long as they know where these things are at, especially when we get down to legal documents, we may have a whole nother binder for legal documents. So maybe you either put them in this binder or you say, go see my legal binder, right? And this is where it's at. So the main things when we're trying to settle estates and things are, we want to see where the bank accounts are. Right. So oftentimes, especially the last generation, have 13 different bank accounts because they got a toaster from one, a blender from another one, and,
Right.
and they got some pots and pans. And so oftentimes, literally, we'll have clients, the generation ahead of us, that they may have 10 banks
Wow.
because they have, this one gave a CD for 2.1 and this one gave one for 2.3. So we moved
Sure.
over from, so where are all those bank accounts? Because those are hard to find because, especially as things are getting more digital,
Yeah.
people are opting. Now, the last generation's not so bad, but our generation gets a little more digital. Like you don't get a physical bank statement in the mail every day or every
Right.
month, right? So somehow they need to know where the banks are, what the account numbers are, things like that. And, and because if you miss them, there could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in a bank account you never
Yeah.
heard of.
Yeah.
And there are some online banks, right? We used to use a bank called Everbank for clients. I think they're owned now by TIA, but it was all online. So there wasn't any physical statement. I mean, you could get a physical statement if you wanted to, but it wasn't like a brick and mortar place that you would, I know there's, USA Bank is around the corner, right? Or things
Sure.
like that. So bank accounts, retirement accounts, whether they are IRAs or annuities or 401ks, where they're at, who's holding them, hopefully the advisor's us, but if it's not us, where they all at. Um, and remind me to mention the, uh, the vault because I probably didn't put that on here. So this is a physical binder, and Later, we'll talk a little bit about the vault. But okay, brokerage accounts. Oftentimes, you might have a Schwab account, Fidelity account, Vanguard account. Where are they? Even if you don't put every monthly statement in here, at least have something in the binder that tells them where it's at. This is the account number. It's at Vanguard. Here's the account number. And later we have a section on all the digital assets, like what are my logins, what are my passwords. Um, Now, I'll talk to you about our Excel file when we get there. But so this list includes tax returns, bank accounts, retirement accounts for your listeners, brokerage accounts, annuities, life insurance policies, property and casualty insurance. So oftentimes when people pass away, we tell them, look, you need to secure the house. I usually tell the executor or trustee to change the locks immediately because you don't know who mom and dad gave a key to, right? So the neighbors come pillaging through the house, right? So change the locks. But you also have to call the property and casualty insurance company to let them know mom and dad died, but we need to keep the coverage on the house, right? So who's the property and casualty people? I mean, and those change from time to time. So as
Yeah.
people try and find better rates, I know. Um, got a call from an insurance company the other day, and they're like, "Well, we were your insurance company in 2021." I'm like, "I don't even know who you are." so 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 phone numbers, maybe the agent's number, who you deal business with. Do you have a long-term care insurance policy? So oftentimes, not often, but many times that clients are having to go into some assisted living or nursing home, and they have coverage through these insurance policies, but nobody knows about them, right? So
Right.
so they end up spending their own money when they could have made a claim on the insurance company. So the important part is you need to do this while you're healthy and you're competent to do this. Put this binder together, and just need to keep it updated from time to time. Another one is safe deposit boxes. I think less and less people are using them. I generally tell people, look, just go buy one of those big gun safes or fire safes at your
Right.
local sporting goods store. And you get them for a few $100s to thousands of dollars, but just keep all your important stuff in there. Safe deposit boxes are, I want to say cumbersome. So let me tell you, one we did with actually just a year or so ago. So when we do an estate and the executor gets appointed, I was actually the executor in this instance. So the executor, once you get your permission slips from the court, says, Tony, you're the executor. It's now as if you're the decedent, right? You can now go to the brokerage accounts. You can go to all these accounts, close them out, do whatever you need to do. So we had to go close out a safe deposit box, and the bank says, well, we need to get a court order to close up the safe deposit box. I'm like, no, you don't. The executor can do that. I mean, the executor is like the decedent, right? So sure enough, we get a court order. I go all the way out there to close the box, and he goes, "Oh, you want to close the box? I thought you just wanted to get what was in it. We need another court order." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. Okay, so let's just open the box." So I give him. I have two keys. I give him the keys, and he tries the key, and it's not working. Wow, that's not great. So he's looking around the safe room and says, this is box number 39. Maybe there's another box number 39. Looks all around, can't find it. So I said, how about trying the other key? Sure enough, the other key opens the box. so so I'm about ready to leave, and he goes, "Are you going to close the account?" And I'm like, "Look, mom's dead, dad's dead. I have everything that's in there, and I don't really care what you do with the box because I'm not coming back out here with a court order. Right? So you do whatever you got. Here's the keys. Do whatever you got to do." And there was another time we went out to get a safe deposit box, open the safe deposit box, and the only thing that was in the safe deposit box was the receipt that they paid $40 to get the safe deposit box. so so all that. So Tony, I can't hear you.
Safe deposit boxes are a
Uh,
thing of the
Yeah,
past, Chris.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and my parents had one for a while, and then my mom got really bad with her Parkinson's, and she wasn't doing so well. And so we were trying to figure out. She wasn't really making much sense, so we tried to figure out because she had opened safe deposit boxes, and it was a hassle
Yeah,
to
yeah.
figure this out, make it happen, even to look in there. And by the time we did everything that the bank wanted us to do and looked in there, there was like an old copy of a social security card. That was
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
it. And then my grandfather, who lived 101, he had like 5 different banks that he did
Yeah,
business
yeah,
with, like
yeah,
you said. And over the course of and he left the account, so he never closed an account
yeah,
apparently, right?
yeah,
So he had a couple safe deposit boxes, like and one was some keys that we didn't know that went to nothing that were
yeah,
really old, right?
yeah,
And so it's like it is crazy what people usually, and my cousin, her mom and dad passed away within a close period of time, went to the safe deposit box where they thought all the instructions on where everything was at and the will, there was nothing in there that her mom had told her was in there, and then she ended up finding all that stuff in a shoebox in the back of the closet, was
yeah.
all the stuff that was supposed to have been in the
You know,
safe.
and oftentimes we'll get into a little bit about the legal documents. People keep legal documents in their safe
Sure.
deposit boxes, but those change from time to time. And we'll talk about a little bit lower on the list, but I'm not even sure how I get lower on the list. Let me see if I can.
Well, first of all, let's talk about safe deposit boxes again for a second, Chris.
Okay,
I think it's a bad idea to have a safe deposit box, in my
yeah,
personal opinion, because you can have a digital online safety deposit box. You
right,
have something called the generational vault,
correct.
where you can keep copies of all these things and physical copies. I think you're better off having a home safe
Yeah,
or a fireproof safe to
and
keep them.
and the physical copies are becoming less and less for our listeners. Through Gradient's great efforts, they've created what we call the generational vault,
Yeah.
which is an online vault for your documents. So you can upload. So our system allows you to upload whatever documents you want into that system, and you could actually, if they're really private, you can have a folder that's only you can see, and you can share these folders with your loved ones. So like we can upload the document, like we could upload your tax returns in there, we could upload your legal documents, you could upload your all your brokerage accounts. So if you want to do it digitally, it's the same thing as this very important papers binder. So if you want that, and it's free to all our clients, so they can we can easily set them up, and like it's not just stuff that we do for you. You can put anything you want in there. So
Right.
it's there's unlimited.
Photos, anything.
Yeah,
You can upload any file to
yeah,
the
and it's on.
generational vault and you can use it. Actually online storage, you have to pay for that now,
Yeah,
but this you provide it to your clients. They can upload a
and
ton of photos and
it's online. There's unlimited storage,
yep.
and we've had people that actually I forgot who it was. Another one of the guys at agents at Gradient. He was traveling somewhere and they somehow lost their passport, but they had a copy of it in their uh, their generational vault, and they were able to go to the U.S. Embassy and get a new one. But online is kind of the way to go now. But
Yeah.
if like I still
And
like.
it's secure. It's like the 32-bit encryption, the
Yeah,
same as banks use.
right. So,
Yeah.
and we, I still like touching paper, but
Yeah,
the
you
online
and me
stuff's good
both.
too. So on this list, we have Safe Deposit Box, Home Safe, and the next one on the list for your listeners is digital assets, logins, and passwords. So if you did have this generational vault open, how does someone get in it? Right. So the other thing that you can be leery of is a lot of power of attorneys out there don't have specific language to allow the agent access to digital assets. Anything that has a login and a password. So there's actually a Uniform Digital Assets Act that came out a long time ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. That gives you can grant that power. So like our power of
Wow.
attorney is like 20 some pages long. So we have a provision in there for digital assets because the bank, the power of attorney would say, you can go look at the bank accounts, but the bankers were saying, well, it didn't say we can give you the passwords and logins for their online accounts. So you have to be careful of that. So digital assets. So what I do, and I'm not sure this, I think it's secure enough. So I created an Excel spreadsheet with not all of them, almost all of my uh, website passwords and logins, right? And then I password protect that Excel spreadsheet. So you can't open that spreadsheet unless you have the password, right? So that way I can say, look, go see the Excel file. Here's the password if you need it. Um, and then they could go and say, here's my account at American Airlines. This is, here's my account at the bank. Here's my account at, the sporting goods store. All those things that the change.
Right.
And then what's nice about the Excel file, as you have to change passwords every now and then, and so you could just change the log. You just put them in the Excel file because you can't possibly remember all that stuff, right? And you don't
Nope.
want to just laying around in a notebook somewhere. Okay.
Nope.
So legal documents. So now whether or not you put them right in this binder, the very important papers binder, or you might have your own separate binder that we created when you came in and did your legal documents. But things like birth certificates, marriage certificates, I'm trying to think of all the stuff that when we have to settle an estate may come up. So birth certificates, marriage. Now, it's not often you need a birth certificate or marriage certificate, but there has been a time where there's, it's the third marriage, and somebody wants proof that this is the current wife, right? So,
Right.
marriage certificates, military discharge papers, because sometimes there's some benefits that the veterans have that the rest of us don't. So, military discharge papers, and hopefully they're honorably discharged.
Yes.
um, deeds would be important. Oftentimes people have property other than their residence, right? They may have property in Minnesota or in Florida or, you know, uh, places where they vacation or they go for the winter, things like that. So, deeds, or at least how do we get to the deed? Maybe the deed it says go look at my safe deposit box, right? So as long as we can find things, wills, trusts, healthcare power of attorneys, uh, regular power of attorneys, burial information. Maybe you prepaid a funeral. So I don't want to go, you went to ABC Funeral Home and prepaid everything, and we went and buried you at XYZ Funeral Home and we paid for it again. Right. And the first funeral home saying, "Well, we're not giving the money back because, you know, that was the deal. Like, you were supposed to come
Yeah.
here." Right. So things like that. Or maybe it's just simple as in this section of the table of contents, you just say, go see the legal binder that is on the top shelf of my credenza. Right. So as long as they know how to get to them, and oftentimes, like our clients, we often keep, well, we bought a bank building, right? So we have a, a bank vault with a big door and everything. So oftentimes our clients will leave their original legal documents in our vault because people tend to lose them, right? So, or they can't find them because they don't, mom's house is a mess and we don't know where to look. But so if, like, on the copy of their will, it says the original is retained by, and here's the address, right? So, but it's hard because a lot of times people can't find the will, and so that can cause a lot of problems, especially if you have second marriages, you have kids that aren't yours. We're going through one right now. Here's a situation: wife, um, s- wife, and husband bought a house, um, and the deed, unfortunately, did not say joint survivorship. So the first um, husband died. So she wants to, now she's remarried and she wants to put her new husband's house on the name on the house in case something happens to her. So we look at the deed, it doesn't say joint survivors. So what happened is that his half of the house would have to be probated to get it over to her. Now, unfortunately, she didn't realize this till 8 or 9 years after his death, and she destroyed the will that she never had to use that says everything goes to her. So
Huh.
I
Even
called
though they own the home together,
yeah, so
the
no,
deed has
yeah,
to say joint.
and survivorship. So which is kind of, it's different, it's different states. Like in Florida,
Sure.
if it says husband and wife, it's presumed that it's joint survivorship.
Right.
Here in
Which is
Ohio,
the way it should be.
it should be, right? Here in Ohio, I actually tried to get a law passed through a senator uh, that say that should be the presumption in Ohio, but the presumption it's not. The presumption is the husband gets to say who gets his half of the property, the wife gets to say who gets her half. Stupid presumption. But even if we got the law changed, it wouldn't change all the deeds that already been filed, right? It
Sure.
would only so it gets a little worse. So I called the attorney. It was a friend of mine who did the will, and he says, "Yeah, I did the will, but I don't have a signed copy. I just have the word perfect copy, right? So we don't have any copy. I mean, I could read the will. The will says leave everything to the wife. Now, the sticky part is he had children from another marriage. So the statute in Ohio says if you die without a will, because we can't find the will now, if you have children from another marriage, that your current spouse gets X percentage and the other kids get X percentage. So
What a mess.
yeah, so she can't put her new husband's name on him without like buying out the other kids. And she's like, but this was my house first. And then I put his name on it. Like she bought the house first and then she added her
Oh,
husband's name, right? So I, she's just, she's living in a house and she said, you know what? Hell with it. I'm just going to let it go. Whatever the hell happens when I'm dead, I don't care anymore. Right. So, I mean, that's how things get so confused. Like, because they, you know, I don't say to blame her, but 9 years after your death, if you never use the will, some people do throw the will away. Why would
mm,
I keep it? Right. I did, so um it just could get messed up. And if we can't find, so the other thing is, the will might say something different than what the statute, and the will might say, give it all to Mickey Mouse. Right. So if you can't find it, this is like, these are where the documents are at. Go look for them. I don't necessarily have to have them in the binder and carry them with me around all the time, but it might just say, go to Chris's office. It's in his vault, right? Or it's in the generational vault, at least a copy of it. So if we can't find the original will, if we do have a copy, we can use, as long as it's, signed and witnessed and everything, we can submit that to the probate court. It's a little different
yeah.
situation. Like we might have to call the witness and say, hey, because the presumption is if you can't find the will, is that they destroyed it on purpose. Like that the old man tore it up because he didn't want it anymore. Right. So that's the presumption if you can't find the will. We're 25 minutes into this. So the key is, if you can get a binder put together like this, or we can help you put a binder together like this, great. Call our office, 216-485-1040. Otherwise, like you could do it yourself. It's not that hard. It's like, 3-ring binder with a table of contents and maybe some of those, those little dividers that you could sell, and they sell them at the bookstore and Office Max or whatever. Or like Tony said, why not just use our online generational vault? It's really
Yeah.
easy. It's free. So you just
And
sign
you
up.
have a physical vault as well that you
Yeah,
keep
yeah, we
files
do.
in and that you can keep files for your clients
Yeah.
in. So, yeah.
So for our listeners, we bought this used to be a Fifth Third bank, and so the vault. How they build the banks is they put the vault in first and they build the building around it, right?
Yeah.
So there, it's not like you can move the vault. So there's we got that big vault that you got to turn the handle on every day to open it. So you can store some stuff there, or we don't. There's no charge. It's not like a safe deposit box or anything. So you store
Right.
whatever you want there. Now there's a limit. We're not going to store your whole, we're not going to store your whole life's works there. But somehow it would be nice if your kids, your loved ones, knew where all this stuff was at. Right.
Yes.
Um,
That's important. It's in a safe place and they know where it's at.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So it makes the ease of administration a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just like, because sometimes you're like, I'm not sure we have all the accounts. I thought mom and dad had more accounts, but I can't find them.
Yeah,
I know.
like
Yeah.
life insurance policies and those, 401ks, IRAs. Some people
Yeah.
have 3 or 4 401ks at different
Yeah.
places or
Yeah.
IRAs. And so, my grandfather, we found a lot of different life insurance information, but it was hard to tell what is current and if it
Yeah,
was still up to
especially
date.
if
And
it's paid up, because
yeah,
you might never get a, like, sometimes they'll say, well, go through their checkbook and see if they wrote checks out to the XYZ insurance company for the annual premium. But if it's been paid up for 20 years, they haven't done that. So you might, it's, it's really hard to, God forbid, what if they had on, a $500,000 life insurance policy you didn't find, then it's going to eventually go to what's called unclaimed funds. I'm sure every state has one. I'm not sure every state, but I know we have one here in
oh
Ohio.
yeah,
We probably have
yeah.
one there.
I think everyone
So
has
what
one.
happens basically at unclaimed funds is, let's say you have an account at the bank and it's inactive for years and years and years, and told you to activate it and they can't get a hold of you, they actually turn the money over to the state of Ohio and say, this was Tony Shore's account. And a lot of them are, believe it or not, you go on the unclaimed funds and it's, Tony has $4.37 left as a deposit from the electric company.
Yeah,
a lot of those, a lot of those.
I went online and did that search, and I used to live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I had $136 in some type of refunded health thing, and I put the claim in. Somebody told me about this link, and I'm like, this can't be legit. And I filled everything out, and they made me put in my last 5 addresses or whatever. And I did that, and they sent me the check. And it's real. I got $136 I wouldn't have had. But I mean, there could be a lot of money out there.
Yeah. So we've had larger accounts, and there are organizations or people that are, I don't know what you want to call them, but they're allowed to process those forms for you and take a commission. Like they sign up to do this type of work.
Yes.
Usually they take 10%. And oftentimes, we've had some that were $20,000-$30,000. They just forgot about them, right?
Yep.
So we're 26 minutes in. I think I probably bumped my gums enough today.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a hold of us, it's 216-485-1040 is the law office, or our financial office is 440-886-3550. Tony, thanks for being on the show today. Hopefully everything went well. And it was a little. I tried to use our regular StreamYard service, and it sent a password to Tony Marlette's email. So I jumped in his office, and I couldn't get in his email because it has a password, right?
Sure. So yeah, we had a rocky start today. It's technology, but we got her done. And Chris, a great show. Very important
papers,
documents, and very important papers. VIP. I love the show today, and people need to have this organized because then you won't leave a mess for your kids.
My wife's waiting for me to do this.
Yeah, yeah. I should probably put ours is kind of scattered too.
And the other thing is, when you have businesses, we have 4 businesses and some rental property. Where is all that stuff?
Yeah.
So okay.
All right.
We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, that does it for today's episode of The Road to Retirement with our host, Chris Anselmo.